We both cheated. Now what? Staying together. The chipped mug warmed my hands, but the lukewarm coffee did nothing for the knot in my stomach. Maya hadn't touched hers. Across the small kitchen table, her eyes were red-rimmed, her usually immaculate hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked smaller than I remembered. So I said, the word feeling like gravel in my throat. Daniel. Her jaw tightened. And Chloe. We'd been dancing around it for 3 days, ever since I'd seen the text thinking of you. Miss last night pop up on her phone while she was in the shower. I'd initially felt a surge of rage, the kind that makes you want to break things, but that quickly morphed into a cold, sinking feeling. Because deep down I knew she wasn't the only one. Chloe. God, Chloe. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd sought validation, a distraction from the growing emptiness in my marriage, and found it in the form of a bubbly, seemingly uncomplicated interior designer. She laughed at my jokes, told me how brilliant my designs were, and made me feel seen. Something Maya hadn't done in what felt like forever. How long? Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. Chloe, a couple of months, I admitted, hating myself with every syllable. How about Daniel? She avoided my gaze, focusing on a non-existent speck of dust on the table. 3, almost 4 months. Almost as long as I'd been suffocating, feeling like I was slowly disappearing inside our carefully curated life. Flashback, 7 years ago. A rooftop party in the summer Chicago skyline twinkling in the background. Maya, laughing, her eyes sparkling as she recounted some ridiculous story about a client. I was instantly captivated. She was everything I wasn't: confident, ambitious, unapologetically herself. We were inseparable from that moment on. We built a life together, a good one. A comfortable apartment in Lincoln Park, weekend trips to Door County, dinner parties with friends. But somewhere along the way, the laughter faded, the spark dimmed, and we became roommates. I don't understand, I said, the words coming out more accusatory than I intended. Why, Maya? Why didn't you just talk to me? She finally looked up, her eyes filled with a mixture of anger and hurt. That's rich, Liam. When was the last time you actually talked to me? I felt like I was talking to a wall. You were always so distant, lost in your work or your head or whatever the hell it was. She was right. I had retreated. Maya's career had taken off and mine hadn't. She was a marketing rock star, closing deals and getting promoted. I was stuck in a mid-sized firm, designing suburban McMansions that made me want to scream. I felt like I was constantly failing, never measuring up to her success. And instead of talking to her about it, I buried myself in work, resentment festering like a slow-growing infection. My first meeting with Chloe was innocuous enough. A networking event for architects and interior designers. She complimented my presentation, asked intelligent questions, and actually seemed interested in what I had to say. Later that night, after a few too many glasses of wine, she brushed her hand against mine, a casual gesture that sent a jolt of electricity through me. I knew I shouldn't have, but I gave her my card, and she called. Maya had been working late that night. Again. Daniel made me feel important, she said softly, breaking the silence, like I was more than just a cog in the corporate machine. He listened to me. He saw me. Daniel, the charming lawyer from her office. I'd met him a few times at company events. He was always smiling, always attentive. I'd even thought he was a nice guy. Now I just wanted to punch him. So what now? I asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. Are we done? She didn't answer. She just stared out the window, her face unreadable. I got up and walked over to the window, standing beside her. We used to stand like this all the time, watching the city come alive in the morning. Now it just felt awkward. I don't want to be done, I said, my voice barely audible. I messed up, Maya. I know I did, but I don't want to lose you. She finally turned to me, her eyes searching mine. Do you even know who I am anymore, Liam, or who you are? That hit hard, because I didn't. I'd become so consumed by my own insecurities and resentment that I'd forgotten who Maya was, what we had built together. And I definitely lost sight of myself. I want to find out, I said, the words feeling surprisingly honest. I want to try, if you're willing. She looked at me for a long time, her expression a mixture of skepticism and something else. Hope, maybe. I don't know, Liam, she said finally. I really don't. This is a lot to process. I knew it was. I destroyed something precious, something irreplaceable, and I didn't know if it could ever be fixed. The next few weeks were a blur of awkward silences, stilted conversations, and separate bedrooms. I moved into the spare room at my sister Sarah's house. Sarah, the therapist who had always been annoyingly perceptive. You screwed up, Liam, she said bluntly over a dinner of takeout Thai. Big time, but you know that already. The question is, are you willing to do the work to fix it? What work? I asked, feeling lost and confused. Therapy, she said, matter-of-factly. Individual therapy, couples therapy. You need to figure out what went wrong, why you both felt the need to seek validation outside of your marriage. I hated the idea of therapy. It felt like admitting defeat, like acknowledging that I was incapable of fixing my own problems. But I was desperate. I ended things with Chloe. It was awkward and painful. She didn't understand. She thought we had something special. I just felt guilty and relieved. Meyer ended things with Daniel too. I didn't ask for details. I didn't want to know. The first therapy session was brutal. I had to confront my insecurities, my resentment, my own failings as a husband. It was like picking at a scab, exposing raw, festering wounds. But it was also liberating. I started to understand why I had acted the way I did, why I had sought solace in someone else's arms. Maya's sessions were equally difficult. She had to confront her own ambition, her need for control, and her tendency to shut down when things got tough. After a few weeks of individual therapy, we decided to try couples therapy. It was even more painful than the individual sessions. We had to rehash old arguments, confront uncomfortable truths, and listen to each other's pain. "You make me feel like I'm not enough," Maya said one day, tears streaming down her face. "Like I'm constantly falling short of your expectations. And you make me feel emasculated," I countered, my voice trembling. "Like I'm just a passenger in your life, watching you soar while I'm stuck in the mud." It was ugly, raw, and honest. And it was also necessary. We were finally communicating, finally expressing the feelings that we had been burying for so long. Slowly, painstakingly, we started to rebuild. We went on dates just like we used to. We talked, really talked about our fears, our dreams, our hopes for the future. We learned to listen to each other again, to see each other again. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks, moments of doubt, times when I wanted to give up, but we kept trying. We kept talking. We kept fighting. A few months later, we decided to move back in together. It felt strange, like moving into a new apartment with a stranger. But it also felt right. We were different people now. We had both been through hell, and we had emerged scarred but also stronger. We had learned valuable lessons about ourselves, about each other, and about the complexities of love and commitment. The trust wasn't fully there, not yet. It was a fragile thing, easily broken. But we were working on it. We were committed to rebuilding, to creating a new foundation for our marriage. Last night, we had dinner at our favorite restaurant. The same restaurant where I had proposed 7 years ago. We sat in the same booth, ordered the same wine. We talked about our therapy sessions, our struggles, our hopes for the future. As we walked home, hand in hand, under the shimmering Chicago stars, I felt a flicker of something. Not the same passionate love I had felt in the beginning, but something deeper, something more profound. A love forged in the fires of betrayal and forgiveness. A love that acknowledged our imperfections, our vulnerabilities, our shared humanity. We reached our apartment building, walked inside, and headed up the stairs to our apartment. As I unlocked the door, I looked at Maya, her face illuminated by the dim hallway light. So I said, my voice filled with a mixture of hope and trepidation, "What do you say we give this another shot?" She smiled, a small, hesitant smile. But it was enough. "Let's do it," she said. We walked inside, hand in hand, ready to face whatever the future might hold. We are not fully healed, but we are committed.